Welcome to Celtic State of Mind. I'm John Dykes, and today I'm once again joined by Jim Simonetti to speak with Brian and Mark Gillan. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. We're here to talk about Celtic, boxing, mountaineering and various other subjects. Take us back to your youth growing up. You guys are brothers. What was your upbringing like?
Upbringing was fantastic. We had great parents. Fantastic. Me and Shug, who are sadly now not with us, you know. But it was in Govanhill, not far from here. We're at Cathkin Park, and we're just only maybe about, I'd say, 8 or 9 blocks from here. Down Cathcart Road, Inglefield Street. And the upbringing was great because it was a loving family. There was always love with me and Shug. And plus, we had an older brother, Terry, who sadly killed in an accident, I don't know, about 30 odd years ago. But the threes were well looked after. We were fed. We had a roof over our head. But the fun thing was they made it fun for us. You get a ball out in the back court and playing and stuff like that. Always fun and games. But a good community we lived in. And that's, sadly, you can see that going now, you know, and that's what we're trying to keep together. With me being football coach and boxing, and Mark being a boxing coach. So we try and bring that back and make it fun for kids now. But, you know, we had a great upbringing. Very, very good.
Govanhill was a good place to grow up as well. Great community. It was like a small village. Everybody knew everybody. Loads to do. Didn't need to travel anywhere. Everything was in front of you. Transport Museum was there. Could travel up to that. Queen's Park was about even your wee local Govanhill Park. Or the back court. That was your Celtic Park. Then again, great times. Great times growing up there.
See, when you think about community, and we've already mentioned football and boxing. How important was it to communities all over Scotland back then?
Well, we never had a lot of stuff on the TV and stuff. I think you had 2 channels. So, I mean, you had to go out and make your own fun and sport. But football was a big thing, right? There was a bit of boxing and that. Well, there used to be a couple of fights, a bit of boxing during maybe the football. But it was easy to get in all the doors or shout up on somebody and get out. And it was dead easy to get 20 kids, 10 aside, 11, 21 out in the back. And what we used to do as well, when I'm thinking back now with the back courts, in the olden days with the old coal fires, the people, the tenants used to put their ashes out in the bin and stuff. We'd grab the ashes and make like a penalty box or penalty spots and touchlines and stuff like that. That was the kind of things we'd done. We didn't tap into a computer to see a kind of virtual game of football. You know, it was done there. And if you get shouted up with your mammy or daddy for your dinner, you're like, can I just one more goal? Or can you throw out a piece, you know, a sandwich? Or else sometimes you maybe get chips wrapped in a newspaper. And it was game on. The games just went for hours and hours. And 11-21 turned into another 11-21. Fantastic. You know, and it was just, we made all our own fun. It was a great community. And the back courts at the time, they took all the railings down for the war years ago. I mean, I was only born 16 years after the war ended. So, like when I was growing up in the 60s, they took down all the railings and fences and stuff like that. So there was a big spread of backs. It was a big football pitch. Mm-hmm. But you didn't kick a ball half a washing. You got that. Because the woman would be shouting, get that ball away for the washing. But, I mean, there was just loads of, you could easily muster up 20 kids like that and get a game going.
Jim, you and I were talking to Graham Diamond just the other week there, and he was talking about, 10,000 kicks of a ball a day, that kind of thing. When you're playing in an environment like that, you're honing your skills on the streets, aren't you? All the time.
A game of volley. You don't see kids doing volley now, and that was it. And if you missed your target, you were out. And maybe if it was 15 kids there, that's you to be, they all missed in that. So, I mean, you had to be really spot on with your passing or whatever, and it did hone your skills. And sometimes a ball would maybe get kicked at an angle and go down under a motor, which there was very few parked in the streets in those days. So you get an outside, take it out and then do your pass. It was brilliant. And when I think of some of the boys that did hone their skills in the streets with a game of volley, or it's a game of roofie, we used to play in the wee park, there was a shed, and it was put the ball into the roof and you were only allowed one bounce and it came down. And to hone these skills as well, somebody won it, sent you running, they keep you up to get it next to the roof, get it back on it again. And it was brilliant, and that's where all the skills were honed. And we never had coaches in any days. There was nobody, it was all self-taught. Everything was self-taught, and when I think of some of the boys that I went about with that made the grade, just all in a park, Kirby, stuff like that, 2.5, he'd do one touch up a close. Brilliant, everything. That's when it was raining. He'd do one touch up a close. Mm-hmm. And that was it, one touch. So you'd only one touch to maybe control and score at the same time.
Indoor football.
Indoor football, Mark, aye, you're right. Up a close. I like that. That's good. Indoor football. The first indoor football. Up a close.
You look at the setup now with youth academies and, sports science and everything is down to a T, and everybody's coached to the point where I don't know if there's the natural flair anymore. And these raw skills that you guys were, nobody coached you. You were coaching yourself.
Nobody coached us at all.
Well, your dad would tell you a few things to do.
Aye,
He would pass on some of his skills. That would be the only coaching you get, or whatever you heard off other people with the went to the games, or watching the games yourself. Yeah, but a lot of it was natural, or just you had to coach yourself.
Where did the boxing come into that environment as well?
Well, I've been in a lot of fights or whatever else through your years growing up in Govanhill, but boxing came into it for extra training for football. Mm-hmm. Just went to the local gym. It wasn't too far for us, and there to train. Wee guy, Charlie Kerr, God rest him, brilliant coach. Just fell in love with him. The way he taught you life, plus he taught you how to box as well at the same time. But it was more for training for football, extra training. That was the reason we got involved in the boxing. Just spiral for there, kept going.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a name, and Charlie Kerr.
Oh, Charlie Kerr's famous in boxing. He started the Scotland International boxing. Charlie, he was a fitness instructor in the army, so he carried it on into Scottish champion also in his day. He carried it on into coaching, coached a world champion in Donnyhood. He had a lot of boxers. Cowboy McCormick, that was Charlie was a coach for him. Dick McTaggart, he coached him as well, a very famous amateur boxer, but gold medalist. Charlie coached him, but a great fella. Partner with Celtic, his young brother played with Celtic, Jim Kerr, but he passed away when he was 21.
Right.
And getting into the boxing club was an education with Charlie. He would follow you into the changing room, knew you were alone, and he would rhyme off the Coronation Cup team or the 7-1 Cup team.
Brilliant.
Just rhyming them right off, and then he would look about so he was named there. He wouldn't want to affiliate himself with football but in a boxing club, but he knew who to talk to.
That's brilliant.
What I was going to say there, Mark, was it's interesting hearing you talking about the box, because the boxing brings a lot of discipline as well.
Great discipline.
That maybe young players now haven't got. But we had Joe Deegan in a couple of weeks ago, and when I was younger as well, there was a boxing coach, Bobby Keddy. Don't know if you
Bobby.
You know Bobby? Aye, for Parkhead, aye. Bobby came in and tried to keep us in the straight and narrow as well. So these guys do stay with you and they live with you. But that's great that you mentioned the old coach who made an impression on your life, Mark.
On life, as well as coaching boxing, but on life, mostly. I'll tell you a lot of his things and what he went through in life. Brought up in the Gorbals, or Hutchison Town, he called it. He was brought up there and told you his life story. So it passed on. You passed on a lot of good advice on you. Great advice. And
it's great how Celtic are always omnipresent. There's always this Celtic influence as well,
I liked when I came in because he knew I went to the games and enjoyed my Celtic stories, so I would rhyme every time, rhyme it off all the time, but he would make sure it was named to there to sort of pull him up. Great fella.
Cowboy McCormick, now you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but his masseur was Jimmy Steele, and obviously Jimmy and Neely Mockin for the Coronation Cup team were like really tight all through the times at Celtic Park.
Well, wee Charlie knew McGrory asked him up to train at Celtic Park, and he used to run up and down the terraces.
Right.
And McGrory said that. He says, "You're a tough man, Charlie, doing that." He says, "Aye." He says, "It is tough." He says, "But being a football player," he says, "I'd like that." He says, "Because you get 10 men run about you to help you." He says, "Whereas I'm in the ring, I'm just there myself." He says, "But that's how I train harder." We're
here at the historic ground at Cathkin Park, and obviously that's got a rich history of boxing as well, Jim. So
it certainly has, and Brian and Mark will also know that Benny Lynch had
Benny Lynch boxed here.
Benny Lynch, Mark, he five fights he had here, maybe more. Maybe more, but I know of 5 fights that he had here. So there you go, big connection again with the football and the boxing, which is fantastic.
You mentioned Celtic going to the games. It's one of the things you can never remember a time when Celtic wasn't part of your life. What's your early memories, Brian, growing up as a Celtic fan?
Maybe when I didn't eat my porridge in the morning, because I was mad for Ronnie Simpson, and he was my favourite player at the time, and if I wasn't eating my porridge or whatever it was, or greens or that, Ronnie Simpson eats that. So get it out. So if Ronnie Simpson, it was good for Ronnie Simpson, it's good enough for me. So that's Celtic was in my life for a really early kid. Right, get your bed. I don't know. All the Celtic players will be in their bed, that's how they get playing for Celtic, because they're in bed early and they're fit in the days. That was the kind of early thing when I was a small kid. But then getting took to a game with my dad. The bus used to leave Benny's Bar down at Gorbals Cross. A few of the listeners will probably remember Benny's Bar, or our granda's. But it was great, and I loved it going down there because it was all just guys, and you'd a part of merchants, and every day was your uncle. So I thought every day at Celtic Park was my uncle, because see, when you went into Celtic Park, where my dad used to stand, was doing it to be schoolboys and closing it first behind the Celtic dugout. And, that's your Uncle Joe, that's your Uncle Johnny, every day you get a penny or a threepenny bit or something. So that was my earliest memories of Celtic. And I didn't go there and scrutinise the games. As Ronnie Simpson made a great save or a cross, that was me. I was delighted when he got a touch of the ball, because it was my favourite player. But then every day that was a community, and you just thought life was like that, because every day was all happy, all cheering, and we used to win a lot in the days as well, in the mid-60s and stuff like that. And I was going to probably say my earliest would have been about 66, 67 or something, going to the games. I remember.
Good time to start.
Fantastic. It was brilliant. And Billy McNeil was just this icon. This was just this big, huge guy, because he was the captain of Celtic. And, when you seen him coming near the touchline and that, it was exciting. But as I say, you didn't scrutinise the football. It was just everything all on about you, and all the kids all on about you. We were all reading off the same page. But that's not as if to say it was just all Celtic when we were kids. We had loads of brilliant pals and neighbours up the stair. I think there was must have been about 20 kids up there close, and it was all mixed. And my man Dan never said stay away from him, they go to the other side of the city. It wasn't like that. We all get brought up, and me and Shug let us make our own minds up as well. They took us to Celtic Park and stuff, but we never get brought up with the divide that you see now. But just fantastic memories of Celtic Park. First one I remember, I think we played a team called Kerr, and I think we beat them 10-0 or something like that. So I was just thinking, wow, 10-0. As a wee boy, the first thing you wanted to do was get back, get your pals out and recreate the goals it was played, it was scored and stuff, where it was up the park with an old ball, and it was the old rubber balls you got. And sometimes if that get burst, you go as your mug at the fire on the old coal fire, and you go up and get a hot poker and mould the ball and back down again. You get another 20 minutes out of the game. You get another 20 minutes out of that ball. Depends how hard it was getting kicked. Because we used to play an old spare ground at Annandale Street in Govanhill, and it was all broken glass and stuff, and the ball would get slashed, the rubber ball. So as your mug at the fire on, going up and get it moulded, then you'd mould the ball. Just mould the plastic out of it and game on again. Brilliant.
Different world, eh?
And great, and that was all just doing, and every day was all going to games and then wanting to get straight back out to Celtic Park and up to a bit of spare ground. Because that's what it was, and jumpers doing, or 2 bricks or something like that for goals.
You mentioned the Coca-Cola game. Paul Wilson scored in that game. We were just talking about Paul Wilson.
Brilliant.
What was your memories of Paul Wilson?
Paul Wilson was just a fantastic player, and you see in these days now it's all about colours and race and that. There was nothing ever said about that. Nothing in the days as well. We didn't notice the colours of people's skin in the days. It was just, my dad was in the Merchant Navy, and and he very liberal, and just he used to bring, when MD was in port in Scotland for Africa, we had African boys in there when we were 6 or 7 years of age, and we didn't notice the colour of their skin or that. That was my Uncle Rufus. There was a guy from Lagos, Bill McDonald, who's a NYPD forensic expert.
He's Jamaica, wasn't he?
He was from Jamaica, went to New York, and he was in the house. So, and it was brilliant when they were up, because we'd bunk beds. So they two were in the bunk beds. These two guys, black African American for New York, and then Rufus, who was for Lagos. So that meant we get to sleep in the wigwam. I had a wigwam. So they put the wigwam up in the middle of the room. We were like, oh, Uncle Rufus is staying there, right? Or Uncle Bill, we're in the wigwam. Brilliant. And that was it. And they went to Benny's bar, and they just thought it was the best thing ever, because they've not seen anything like that. It was mad. And I think it was years later, maybe it could have been about 25 years later, somebody came into the Granite City, which is now the Brazen Head, looking for Shug Gillan. And it was a big Bill McDonald for the NYPD. He went down to Gorbals Cross, Benny's bar, going, it's a Sheriff Court now. Went to the nearest pub, which was the Lorison Bar, and he says, I'm looking for this guy, and showed a photograph. Somebody could, let's see that, it's Shug Gillan. Shug drinks up in the Granite. And went away back, took his 2 daughters up and introduced him to Shug.
Amazing.
Just, fantastic. And he'd been to Celtic Park and everything, all that. It was great. It was great days. We had a great upbringing with my mother and father. And plus, you're asking about the community, the Celtic community. Everybody was happy. Mm-hmm. It seemed to be anyway. We didn't have two halfpennies to rub together. Everybody was on the same boat. But when you went to Celtic Park, it was just all great, and the noise, and maybe get a bit of tablet or a macaroon bar or spearmint chewing gum. Brilliant.
Great memories. What about yourself going to the games, Mark? You mentioned going up with your dad. What's your early memories of Celtic Park?
Celtic Park, I think I seen the last game of the Lisbon Lions when I think Simpson came on, didn't he, just as an appearance. Yeah. I remember that. Being there, getting drove up, I think it was about 80s on a wee Anglia motor, getting drove up and dropped off. Just up the back of the Celtic end. I think we were always at the Celtic end. Well, you had to be, right enough, wherever you go. I remember it being sunny a lot of times as well, and the big Rolls Royce going round sometimes the first game of the season for the presentation of the flag. Whatever dignitary it was, or Jockstein's wife, I think she'd done it once or twice. But great memories of Celtic Park. Just going up and walking under the old bridges, the railway bridges, up London Road. Mm-hmm. And the dark nights, midweek games, going up there in the winter, or getting lost, losing your dad and having to run about trying to find people that knew him where they were stored. But the jungle, going through the jungle, the shortcut through the toilets to the Rangers end to see the Celtic shooting into the other side or things like that. Loads of memories of Celtic Park. Loved it. I think the first thing, being a kid with Celtic, would be getting a strip. Mm-hmm. Getting a strip, I don't know if it was Christmas or birthday, but the green and white hoops, you always had them on. And maybe it wasn't a full strip because you didn't have the money then or the sports shops then, so you would get a tap out of some shop, your mum would get you a pair of shorts somewhere else and a pair of socks, but as long as you had the hoops on, that was it. Mm-hmm. So that was my memory. It's
so fond memories of Parkhead at that time, Jim, but when you look at it, the stadium was dilapidated, but everybody looks back on it fondly.
I thought it was a great stadium. It was good because I wish the guys were back at sold the rolls and spam.
I remember
the rolls and cheese out of big egg box for $2 right, 10 pence and money now, but they're better than the burgers and the pies.
That's right, Brian. But you know something, Paul? No, again, we never ever looked at it as being dilapidated. We just looked at it as
paradise,
magnificent place to go. It was brilliant. By the way, I'd forgot about the shortcut Mark's talking about under the jungle along at the left hand side, look at the park across to the main door, down the left hand side and in, and you could get round. It was never dilapidated. It was magic, although it was in today's eyes.
Yeah. Today's eyes, it wouldn't be as hygienic as what they are now.
Well, definitely no, Mark. Definitely no there.
But there was vendors everywhere. Everywhere you went, your macaroon bars, your spearmint chewing gum, and then your rolls and spam, or rolls and cheese, right? $2.
But you know something, Brian? Do you know what was great? You're talking about the macaroon and the spearmint chewing gum, guys. I used to look at them when I was young and go, how are they managing to get so close to the park? Because they used to walk round with the police, didn't they? Because all the I'm going, one day I'm going to just get to that red ash part of that park. But that's a great fond memory, I know, Brian.
Well, see what you're saying, a memory as well, to get near. Remember the ambulance men used to sit behind the goals and stuff like that.
Aye.
And if somebody waved a white hanky and all that, the ambulance men went in. But I had a pal as well, Gary Reid, Jim's brother, and he could make his nose bleed the drop of a hat. And he said, do you want to go on the pitch? And I went, aye, how? And he went, he says, I'll make my nose bleed, you take me on, right? He says, and I remember going out and the police were like, where you going? And they went, you can't get out of that fence. Went, his nose bleeding. They went, right, go out. So the ambulance men used to sit, they had a wee stretcher and all that. Right. Used to sit with a big long trench coats behind the goals. And I remember going out, and I can't mind if it was Evan Williams, I think, was in goals. And Evan Williams, it was like for me away to Jim, we're sitting about 5 yards away from one another, and I was just in awe, and I just let his nose bleed like hell. Because I came on.
Did you not hit it, Brian, to make it worse?
Aye, but I was meant to be holding his nose, and then because I was next to Evan Williams and all that carry on, and Jim Brogan and that, I was just like that, and I was telling everybody I was on the pitch today, but it was because Gary made his nose bleed. He get 2 paper hankies shoved up his nostrils and we get sent back to the crowd. But what a buzz.
Who would you regard as your personal greatest Celtic player?
Oh jeez, there's that many as well, you know, but I could mention a few names as well. Jinky was something else, you know, but I loved Dalglish, Deans, and I thought one of the best players I've seen up there in the hoops as well, and I wish we'd have got him when he was younger, was Lubo Moravcik. My God, you know, I love watching good players, and since I've been a coach I started to scrutinise the game and scrutinise players, but just the natural talent that guy's got. But if I was going to say somebody out there at Celtic, it would probably be Kenny, because I grew up in that era. I was a teenager when Kenny Dalglish was here, and he was something else. And then he went on to Liverpool, obviously, and get highlighted. But he was doing all that stuff at Celtic.
Yeah,
you know, he was doing that week in, week out in places like maybe up in Dunfermline and East Fife and stuff like that. And when the pitches you were up to knee deep in mud. And so I would say Kenny, but you know, it's a tough question every day. I just loved everybody that pulled on the hoops, and Kenny I would pick out probably.
What about yourself, Mark?
Oh, reading about ones, Jimmy Quinn, the mighty Quinn, Patsy Gallagher, or him. My dad used to speak about Charlie Tully. Can you see by Tully? So I've heard about players, read about players, seen footage about players. Watching Celtic, the one I thought was fantastic. A lot of people don't like him now. Maybe I'm not a fan of him now, but when I watched him playing the hoops, Charlie Nicholas, I remember seeing him at Lesser Hampden, just across the road there. You used to jump over the fence to go and watch the reserve games all the time. Nicholas could, the way he put the ball by a goalkeeper was great. I loved Bobby Lennox growing up. I loved the buzzball because of the speed of him when he was a Lisbon Lion. You didn't realise when you were younger at that age who he was, but later on, I loved the buzzball. Celtic, Moravcik, great player. Even the days game, Bryn is brilliant, and I love a wee boy Mikey Johnson because of the jink. He's got the jink as well, so you always associate Celtic with Jimmy Johnson outside lefts, outside rights. You want to see him doing that. So I even tried to do it myself. You had the socks rolled down when you played all the time, but I like wee Mikey Johnson, even Forrest. But Nicholas, growing up, I loved watching him because you were young at his age and you looked up to him with the style and all that. I know he's not a flavour of the month now, but football wise, unbelievable player for goal scoring.
I'd agree with that.
The one at Ibrox, when I seen him taking the shy and taking the throw in, he just took the ball by a guy and put it by Big Jim Stewart right into the cell end. I was in enclosure at the time. I remember getting spat on with the people above you or the dignitaries or whatever they were meant to be. But Nicholas, I liked Charlie. I liked him. He
was special. As well as just doing what kids done back then and played football, obviously it gets to the point where you decide if you're going to keep that up and start playing for teams, and that can progress as well. So how did your football career progress from there? It's
still going. I'll be 59 in December and it's still going. I play on a Tuesday night. We were the Jimmy Johnstone boys that we coached. It started off with, I think, Holy Cross Primary School, again, which is only about 2-3 blocks for Cathkin Park. Started off with him. I remember playing St Joseph's up at with the Pinkston Road Flats, and I always remember we get battered 10-0. I always remember my first game with them. We had like Man United strips, the red and white, the round collar, the red strip with the round collar, white, and went out and played. And I think I get put at centre half because I was tall when I was a kid. So you're tall, every day was a centre half. But you know yourself, you wanted to get up there and score goals. But I remember as well, we get beat 10-0 because we always made a joke. My ma says, my boy was a goalkeeper, and I had to tease him out from under the bed with Jaffa cakes because he let 10 in. But I mean, it was it's a learning curve, and you get up, you get the doings. But I mean, that you tasted defeat, and you didn't want that taste again, so it made you want to come out a winner. But that was my first memory. I think I was 10 years of age. That would have been about 1970, 71 or something like that. And then I went for the Holy Cross Boys Guild. They had Boys Guild football. I think it was a Catholic Union youth football or something like that. And it was a brilliant thing. It was a Saturday afternoon. Played with the school in the morning, about Holy Cross Guild in the afternoon. Brilliant, boys. That's when you were about 12, when you went to secondary school. You got that. So there was boys like for Holyrood and St Bonaventures. It used to be John Bosco. It ended up getting called in the Gorbals. And that was a brilliant standard of football. You know, and it was all over Glasgow. And then from there, I think I went to St Francis Guild after that. I went to school in the Gorbals and I made a lot of good pals. I went to St Francis. And I played football right through. I think there was a gap. I started playing amateur football when I was 15. A guy, Brian Adams, I think my Jim knows him, got me in and says, I play a bit of football, and says, you want to play amateur? And I didn't know what it was, a 15-year-old kid. I went, I ain't bother. But when it was all big, hairy men and that, all big guys, it was all really well built and stuff. And they didn't step out the wife here and they put you up in the air. But you learn, I mean, that's maybe how, you know, I'm not saying I was great or I set the heather on fire, but I learned how to ride tackles and stuff like that, because these guys would have snapped you. Because these guys were probably all out on a Friday night, all half cut and half jaked, and then coming in, then there's this wee skinny fella, maybe just scoring a couple of goals or doing a couple of tricks. They were like, ah, he's coming out. So I mean, it was good, good learning at that age. For then I went to, I think, Gorbals United, played there. I was about 24 or something. I think I had a wee gap in football about 3 years. I don't know, it wasn't a woman anyway, it took a gap away. I couldn't get a bird in a pet shop. But whatever else I was doing, you know, maybe hill walking and stuff like that. And then I picked back up again. I went to England. I think I was playing football in Kensington Park, and a guy says, oh, you play a bit? Took me up to Hawker Siddeley, who at the time was British Aerospace. Played with him. Guy seen me, I got took into non-league football, was Moseley. A guy, Gary Evans, who was played with Wimbledon. Gary seen me play and took me on. I started with Moseley, and then I played a bit of non-league football in England for a good few years. Where did I start off? Moseley, then went to Dorking. Dorking was brilliant.
That'd be nice, Dorking.
Oh, no, but I loved them. Celtic's top saver.
That's right, aye.
They were the hoops. Aye. So every time I'm going to play a non-league game and putting the hoops on, I just thought I was playing for the hoops. You know, and it was fantastic. For there I went to Tooting and Mitchell and ended up, I think, I rolled my ankle or something like that. I played with him for about 3 or 4 years. Good non-league team, but brilliant, and I'm still going. Ended up playing over 40s in America. I played for a team over there as well. Still play with him when I get back, you know, I'm back and forward. So the football career is still going. You could call it the winter years I'm in just now. 6-a-side every Tuesday night at the Emirates, but I love it. I've got the passion for it. And I see some of these boys, it's maybe, I'm saying 40 years younger than me as well, and I can still, I'm not as quick as them, but I get a bit, you know what I mean? He's one of my pals, Alec Muller, says to me, Brian, I'll get you a game. Whereabouts? It's walking football of the green. I went, oh, that's not for me.
Not yet.
Oh, because I'm still full of run, I'm still full of energy like him. And I don't know where we get it for, but long may it last.
Talk to us about your own career, Mark, because obviously you played with Clyde, you went on and played elsewhere.
I didn't go full time with him. I remember going down training with him. One of the trials, going down, just a boy from Govanhill, running about on a Sunday morning trying to get a pair of boots. I had no boots. I went down with a pair of Adidas Sambas, but Craig Brown was the manager at the time, the Scotland manager, so I had to get one of his boots to play my trial. And I done well, scored a good goal. But I think because what had happened there, it maybe went, well, if you can't bring your own boots, where are you going to go? But no, I enjoyed Shawfield. I enjoyed training with all the boys. It was a good experience and taught me a good few things when you find out some of the players you played with, how far they went on, like Brian Nevin, an international, and a Chelsea player, Everton, played in the Premier League. So it was good being involved with that. I just, at the time, I could have pushed it, that I was too involved with what my pals were doing growing up. I just had that passion of running about and doing my own thing rather than being the discipline of football. So it kept me back for good through it.
He kept playing football, but not at that level. He liked playing with his pals. His pals would be a team. They had a good outfit and a lot of good boys as well that could have went a bit further. But in these days as well, as we were saying, there was no coaching. I know as well, if there was coaching in these days, I'd have been a far better player.
Oh, definitely.
You know, I'd have been a far better player, but what I will say sometimes as well, I think maybe kids are overcoached in now. You know, we're taking that natural ability and away from players. And I don't want to come away from Mark's story there. He played football and he's still playing football as well, you know, right up to now. But he wasn't cut out to be a professional. That's the way I seen it.
It's influence. If you get influence, better.
Because sometimes I ask him, you know, if we were some nights sitting ourselves and having a chat, I says, do you no regret staying with Clyde, and then he got took out to Tynecastle with Hearts and stuff like that, and a couple of other English teams were it, and he says, no, I had great fun with my pals. So things like that, you know.
Whereas going to the Celtic games,
well, he was mad for Celtic. He'd rather go to Celtic.
That was one thing my dad used to say, go and play football instead of watching it. But I would sometimes feign an injury just to go to a game and get caught once or twice with my dad when he seen us.
I've all done that.
Celtic passion took over a wee bit.
So Crystal Palace were interested in taking you down to London?
I had to go down there, but the manager at the time wanted me to stay in Scotland because Aberdeen were interested, so he sort of shunned the Crystal Palace move and tried to get me to go to Aberdeen to stay in Scotland. But it was look, Marlon Brando, I could have been a contender, but I never made it. So, but I enjoyed the experience. I can talk about it now, but I can pass on information to young boys coming through football now, and that's what one thing I do tell them is, if you want to make it in football, just leave your pals behind and concentrate on yourself and go through and listen to people above you, your coaches, people that's going to influence you into the professional game. Listen to them, because it's too easy to be distracted. Not more so nowadays. I can see a lot going on with younger ones, but that's my advice to a lot of them, is just concentrate and leave your pals behind, which is tough sometimes, but it works. It's
bound to be tough because you've got that sense of loyalty as well, and you won't want to be thinking, I'm the big time guy here.
You're scared in case you miss out on something with your pals, because they come back with brilliant stories, but what would you rather be? Going about getting drunk and chatting lassies up, or being a professional football player? It's how you manage it yourself. But that's advice I would give. If you want to make it in football, just concentrate on your own doing and listen to your coaches around about. Listen to the influences that are going to help you make it.
A huge amount of focus for people so young. So when you look around the Jimmy Johnstone Academy, obviously Jim and the people that he's worked with are trying to instill these values in young kids from a young age, so that they can maybe make it in the game or take these disciplines wherever they end up in life. So how did you get involved yourself in coaching here at the Jimmy Johnstone?
Jimmy Johnstone Academy, it was funny. I just had come back. I was full time in America coaching, and I'd come back here. My ma got more or less a time limit, so I says I better go home. And I was working. I did the roofing, and a guy, Robert McGill, a plumber that I know, came up to me and says, "This flyer came through my door." He lives in Rutherglen, and it was the Jimmy Johnstone Academy. So I went, "That's good, they're looking for coaches," and it was up at Tory Glen, which was just a new facility, and I'd never seen it before because I'd been away in the States working. So seen this flyer, and I went, "I'm going to go up and try that." Phoned the number, and I think it might have been Jerry Bronski or somebody that answered, or I can't remember the other guy. It was ways at the start, Jim. But anyway, I went up to do the Jimmy Johnstone Academy. You better speak to the gaffer. Who was it? My buddy, Jim. Gillan, great to see you. Jim, how's things? And that was it. And I've never looked back. Now, that was a wee back. That was the first year, Jim, wasn't it?
2009.
And there was hundreds of kids in the uniforms, and they had it going brilliant. And I was like, this is great. And plus the facilities as well. Because when we used to get and play football or any training, it was in a bit of spare ground or anything like that, or a car park and stuff like that. And it was these facilities were as beautiful. No, it was a 4G grass and all that carry on. So I went for there, and Jim gave me a team. I think we used to do the Sunday mornings. It was like 8 aside or something like that. And then as time went on, we ended up getting into 11 aside and stuff. And I loved it, because I loved passing things on to kids, because I'd never been coached really when I was a kid. There was a guy who came with Holy Cross Guild, Mark Hugh. Remember that guy? He brought in coaching to us, Hugh. I thought the guy was brilliant. I was 14. I was a striker with Holy Cross Boys Guild. And this guy told me how to shield a ball, how to put my hand out, how to tighten my stomach muscles, to stay strong. My first touch, my awareness, I've never been taught this before, and it was brilliant. And I loved it with the guy. And then I thought, I'd love some of that, because you're involved in football. And then I get into the coaching. Where did I get into it? Over in the Ireland. I was playing in Ireland. I was playing non-league in Ireland for a while. And one of the football players for Dundalk had says to me, you're very vocal and you'd be good in coaching, and do you fancy it? Harry McHugh, his name was, I think he played left back with Dundalk and Home Farm and stuff. Shelbourne, he'd been running about the guy. And I listened to Harry, and Harry got me up and got me into the coaching there, and I took to it. And I had a pal there, James Cole, for the Gorbals. James went over to Ireland playing professionally. He was a Dundalk captain, won a couple of cups and leagues and stuff like that. And James says, I'm going into the coaching now. So we ended up doing it together. And I never looked back for it, and I loved it. Because I was passing on to kids, and even though I'm 58, coming up 59, I've not got a short memory, Paul. I remember when I was a kid and the guys that shouted at you and stuff like that, I don't want to do anything for him. So I remember all that sort of thing. And then I remember guys just going, just get the ball up the park, right? That was a shout years ago. What are you doing? But we're not there to question these kids. We're there to teach them. So that's what I used to get as a kid. And I've not got a short memory. So I thought maybe I could put my spin on it with these kids and make it fun as well. Mm-hmm. And as Jim will tell you, I love having a bit of fun with all the kids and a bit of leg pulling. Because football's to be fun. You don't want kids getting away and saying, don't like that, coach, don't want to get back. You want them getting away and going, that was brilliant, I loved it. Coach was brilliant, great laugh, bit of a goofball. But, when you go, and that's what you want for kids, whether it be football, boxing, basketball, any sport, make it fun for them, don't question the kids. So I got into the coaching on that side, and coaching went from strength to strength with Jim. I think it was 7 years I was with Jim. And I went back out to America again. They were taking me out on for 2 months and 3 months at a time for the summer things. But I've kept my hat in the ring. I do freelance now. If anybody's wanting coached, I do it. I'm not affiliated to any club now. But I love it to pass on to these kids. A couple of kids, as Jim will verify, they've made the grade. And it's not about us, people saying, what was the score with your team today? It's not my team, it's the kids. Or if he's won anything, I've not won anything, it's the kids. It's like, I look at myself like a driving instructor. I won't pass the test, I'll tell you how to pass it, Paul. You go in there, you sit the test, you do it. So I can go in there and I can tell the boys how to defend, how to win the middle of the park, and how to score goals. It's the way I go and do it. Mm-hmm. I'm only an instructor. So I love that side of it. And I love the fun side, because there was a couple of guys that I used to play under were just shouters. And I didn't like that. So I try and make it as much fun as possible. And I love coaching. It's a great thing, it's a great sense of, help and helping the community. Mm-hmm. And giving them something that I didn't have, because as I said earlier on, if I'd have been coached when I was younger, I would have probably been a far better player. So I'm trying to instill that and get feedback from kids or kids' parents saying, they made the team or they scored the goal, and that thing you taught them. Great. That's all it's about. It's not about me getting trophies or bouquets thrown at me. It's about, it's about the kids. We've had our time in football. Although I'm still playing in our kids.
Aye.
Still want it.
Who stands out for you, players that you saw at the academy?
Players I saw at the academy now, just when I got through as well, there was a couple of young boys, and what was it, the 99s I had at first, Jim?
You did 99s, yes.
Mitchell McDonald.
Yep, Mitch.
He's a fantastic player as well. Paul Fee, great wee player.
Paul's with Albion Rovers just now.
Albion Rovers, Paul's with,
yep.
I think. Aye, Paul's with Albion Rovers. Kyle McLaren.
Yep.
Kyle McLaren was just a great player as well. Him and Big Mitchell. Danny's dad's up here just now, Danny Butler.
Danny Butler, yeah.
Danny Butler was a fantastic player. And Danny, I think, is he playing with the Bens and Blantyre Celtic or somebody? I don't know. But that's not the thing for me as well, is going, see that guy there, I got him there. It's no, they got themselves there.
Correct.
I give them the guidance, mm-hmm. like the driving instructor thing. This is how you pass your test. You go and sit in the car and do it. So all the boys it's all made the grade, that's through their own hard work. And as Mark will tell you as well, we tell kids the two most important things you've got, and we point to our ears. That's the two most important things you've got on this pitch or in this ring. Is your ears, listen up. So we teach them, they go on and do it. So it's their ability that gets them to that. It's no, I can't stand in the terrace and say, like Darnell Fisher played here as well, and he played with shit. I can't stand there and say, that's me, got him there.
No, you helped get him there. Brian's a very inspirational, very motivational coach. He's brilliant with the kids, and he helped immensely.
And I had a good guy with me as well, as a guy, Joe Edvaldson. And Joe, I hope he won't mind me saying, his father played with Celtic captain the Icelandic national team. And Joe's still got uncles in professional football in Iceland and in the Bundesliga. Joe had a wealth of knowledge of football.
Joey, aye.
Yeah, Joey, you know, the stuff that he must have been in, you know, the talks with his dad and his uncles and stuff. And me and Joe, we got together, I think, I don't know what it was, Joe was struggling with a team, I was struggling to get, you know, like a living together, so we like kind of put them together.
That's right.
And say, Jim, what's the chance? Yeah, on you go, knock yourselves out. And the two is just dovetailed fantastically. And Joe was brilliant one-on-ones with people as well, you know. And somebody could come in there at 2 feet tall, coming on that pitch, and 10 minutes with Joe, and they'd be out there 10 feet tall, the best player in the park, stuff like that. Joe was, and we dovetailed. And that was a good thing with all the coaches. We all shared things with one another. And, you know, I wouldn't go say, this is my team, me and Joe together. We go and speak to Jim. Jim would speak to us. And there was, I think we'd have...
Was it together in this?
7 or 8 teams.
Aye.
So you're looking at maybe 14 to 16 coaches and all bouncing off one another.
That's a great thing I see with the Jimmy Johnstone. It's maybe what I missed out on influence. Coaches that are caring for you and can see the potential and want to channel it into pushing it forward. Whereas when we played, it was you played your games, you never get influenced the way user influence kids to go to. Plus the network you've got is unbelievable.
You're right, Mark. I'm looking at you and thinking back, Mark, and if you were today, then Brian and I had a player like you as well, you would be going on to the next level there and help you in pushing as well. And you had a good guy in Stephen as well.
Well, I was going to bring Stephen in as well.
Stephen's a very important part of your team of coaches, Brian. You were the head coach.
I've got Stephen's name here as well, and I'll tell you one thing as well, as much as me and Joe, Stephen Henderson was the glue. I wouldn't have been doing the coaching.
Love it.
You know, you get all these coaches that's all going about, and you don't see what's going on in the background, Paul. You know, and I know me and Joey Edvaldson would not have been here only for Stephen Henderson. Stephen Henderson made things so easy. It was just, we came in here, the strips were there, everything was all done. Stephen worked incredibly hard. Pitches, referees, players well-being, players at school, you know, what are they up to? And we always said that to Stephen, and Stephen will shy away for the limelight as well. Me and Joey Edvaldson used to speak about it. We wouldn't be coaching if it wasn't for Stevie Henderson. Now, Stevie had one of the wee teams, and me, Joey, came in and helped, and Stevie was saying, if it wasn't for you lads. But Stephen was part of that. Stephen got this team together, and I know for a fact as well, Stephen was just, he was the linchpin in that. If you could call us the three A's, Stephen was the main man for me.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned a few of the players as well, and a special mention to young Liam Hendry, who was one of the players that you coached here as well.
Liam Hendry was just, I called him Smiler, because, I mean, just Liam just had a smile on his face the whole time. Just, and you never seen, if you see any photographs of that kid, and just a smiler. And he was great, and he used to come in here to see his smile. He was one of the kids, and I'm not just saying this because he's not here now and stuff like that. The kid lit up a room, and he got on great with everybody. Very quiet kid, but it wasn't until after that untimely death, you know, young Liam passed away, it was that I found out how much he'd done for the kids in his school, and things that other kids would look at and say, that's not cool. Because I heard they helped out with the school choir and all that.
Absolutely, yes.
Wow. You know, and I seen this kid, and he never bummed about anything in that. Good wee keeper, never missed training, always in time, and just very well got with all the other kids. Fantastic little kid, very, very sad that there's just that loss of life there. But what a fantastic young boy, you know, and as I say, just always a smile on his face. He played with a smile on his face. Fabulous kid. Great
memories. Jim, what about yourself? What do you remember of young Liam?
Just forget exactly what Brian is saying. about him. He'd been a goalkeeper, and his uncle used to bring the other guys along as well. And what we done was last season there, we looked at the old goalkeeper jersey that the kid used to wear, and we took it ways to all our Scottish Cup games, and it helped us get into the last 8 of the Scottish Cup. There's a wee memory of the boy, and if we'd have got to the final, obviously Brian and Mark and everybody else associated with the club would have been there, and I think would have probably dedicated that final to that kid. And when he did pass away, it was magnificent that Brian, Stephen, Joey was up in Ireland, and all the boys all turned up that Saturday down there. We all got together. Brian had them all together for that game. It was very emotional. It brought a lot of memories back, and what Mark was saying earlier as well, the togetherness, everybody, if there was something's went wrong, and even to this day if something went wrong, I'm quite sure past players and whatever, everybody would all come together, which is probably the magic. Jimmy Johnstone that's attracted as well, and that's what it means to play for Jimmy Johnstone. Once you've been a Jimmy Johnstone coach, you're always a coach. Once you've been a Jimmy Johnstone player, you're always a player. You're always a Jimmy Johnstone player, even you going elsewhere. And it brings back fond memories. But Brian's saying, and the family, a nice family, and God bless you for
100%. Mark, talk to us about your gym, your boxing gym. What's the history with that?
The history, it used to be a police station years ago. Then it was after that it was a Liberal Halls, and then Charlie Kerr acquired it because he worked for the corporation, so he got it off them to turn into the gym it is now. But that's a great place. Maybe the same extreme as Jimmy Johnstone. It brings a lot of people together, all walks of life, all religions, ethnics, whatever you want to name it. It's a great place to be in. Great atmosphere in it. When you can open the door, you just hear the noise of punching, bags going, speed bars, skipping, people talking, laughing, whatever else, and then you get the sense of it, the smell, or whatever it is you take out it. It's maybe just common for me now. You smell all the stuff, but a great place, and the amount of people that's been in it through it over the years I've been going, which is 32 years now. I've been getting into that gym. It's been open since 1978. So, and it moved originally for Kelvin side. That's how the name Kelvin, but it's in Govanhill, and it's well established in Govanhill. A great place for the community. A lot of people know it for different terms. They call it Charlie's because of Charlie Kerr, or they call it the Kelvin or the club. It's got all its names. You need to see it to believe it. To the outside, it doesn't look much because it's just a door and a couple of windows. But when you walk into it, it just opens up like a TARDIS, a boxing ring in it. It's been there for 30 years. Built changing rooms. And we were one of the only boxing clubs in Glasgow to have showers. It's a stipulation with the boxing Scotland that you have to have washing facilities, but we were one of the only gyms in Glasgow, maybe the central belt of Scotland, with showers in it for a long time. Although they were cold, but you still can get a wash after training.
Mm-hmm. We're speaking about the community aspect, the togetherness of a football academy or a gym. How important is that for people's well-being mentally as well?
Oh, it's a great thing. I think for fitness, if you're fit in health, you're fit in mind sometimes, but a lot of people come, they might not train in the gym, they'll come just to chat, to see, to speak to people, so they get that well-being as well as fitness. There's all ages come in. There used to be all the old cronies when Charlie had it, would come and sit, ex-boxers and whatever else, it'd be up to about maybe 8 people just standing talking. So sometimes you would go over and listen to them, hearing the old stories. It was great as well. But well-being mindset is a great thing. And because it's in a community, which is a big community, Govanhill still is a big community, so people come and go constantly. Mm-hmm. And they hear stories about the gym, so they want to, because they hear these stories, they want to come in and be involved in it. So I think it's a great thing for well-being.
It's a very good gym. It's like one of them. See if you've done a fly in the wall documentary on that gym, it would be brilliant because there's some characters in the place. And the good thing about it as well is there's a lot of people that's in maybe news, media, football players, guys that's in the rock business, you know, we don't want to mention their names because that's how they love coming there, because once they come in there, they're no up on the stage or they're no on the television. They just get brought right down a peg or two, because it's all a bit of leg pulling and slaggings and stuff like that. And everybody's all the same when they come in that door. And I think that's what all these guys that's up there in the media and stuff like that, that's what when they shut that door behind them and coming into the gym, that all stays out there and they come in there and they're just real people, because they don't get looked up to or anything like that. And there's quite a lot, and still to this day using it just now, you know, celebs and stuff like that. And the good thing about it is you don't look at them as a celebrity, you know. The first thing, I just stay to that. Where'd you get these shorts, you know?
It's a great feeling.
Grounding, it's a great grounding.
It's a great place to get in. And obviously we've got an ex-world champion. When we cleared the terracins away, Brian, we got it all cleared up with the payback scheme. When all these guys came along and assisted in cleaning up it. So the ex-world champion, he's up and down.
I seen him the other day out training.
Do you see him the other day, aye?
Who was that, Mark?
With the weights, Scott Harrison.
Scott Harrison.
Yeah.
Scott Harrison.
Has you got a fight coming up, Mark?
He's fighting the Irish Boxing Board. A control have sanctioned him a fight. The British Boxing Board will no entertain him, but he's got a fight, an indoor fight. I think it's in Aberdeen next month. Next month it'll be July. So he's training hard. It's just a shame what happened to him. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of mostly Scottish sports stars. They demon drink, but I wouldn't condemn him for what he's training hard. Boxing's a tough sport, or any sport is. You've got to keep it up, but hopefully he does it. He done Scotland proud when he was world champion, so I wouldn't detract anything from. I know he's done a lot of wrong, but he's done a lot of good as well.
Of course he has, and see when you see him training down the park, I mean, I stand and I watch him and I go, wow, he's a world champion. He's a world champion for Glasgow, and boxing.
Plus he's a good Celtic supporter.
Plus a good Celtic supporter. Aye. Boxing's actually a sport very close to my heart as well. I love the boxing. My mother's brothers, they used to fight in the Bush or the Green. Charlie Lamont, the boxer there, and unfortunately, my father's uncle, my grandmother's brother, he was actually unfortunately killed in the boxing ring. Away back when Tommy Gilmore Senior's father took him, and it was an accident in the ring. And we've always had a great love and a great fondness for boxing. And I think back in the day as well, Brian, when we used to talk about the great fight with Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, and how there's a time to box, there's a time to fight, there's time to stand off, time to defence, time to attack. Boxing and football go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And it's a great combination. But what Mark does and what Brian does in the boxing is nothing short of fantastic within this local community here. It's brilliant what these two guys do, and it should be shouted from the highest tops. If all the supporters that come on and listen to the podcast, Paul, and even beyond, guys like this are unsung heroes, and they're brilliant for what they do.
They're doing an immense amount of work for the community, like you say, Jim, and what you're just saying there, Scott Harrison, world champion boxer, training at Cathkin. Benny Lynch fought at Cathkin.
Yep.
Shout out for the rooftops, and let's talk about peaks. Let's talk about Mountaineer. And I've been sent a few.
That's quite good.
A few pictures of you.
That's a good link there, Paul, isn't it?
Talk to us about climbing mountains.
Well, it started off with climbing dikes and stuff like that.
The flagpole.
Climbing up with the flagpole and the Queen. It all started off. Every kid in Glasgow just wants to climb. When you get out back in the 60s and the 70s, you would climb up a dike. It was the old midden bins and stuff like that. You climb that, and you wanted to be the best climber on the street or the best climber on the back, and then you climb a drain pipe, a own pipe, and as Mark was saying there, and dripping off. But we were never scared of heights and stuff like that, because you used to climb up things like that. And then in the old days as well, the old buildings, you used to be running about the roofs, and it was, when you look back, it's crazy. But that gave us just no fear of heights. So then we started doing like hill walking, like maybe the Cobbler up in Arica, Ben Lomond, and then we started looking further afield and stuff like that. So Everest was on my eyesight for a long time, and every time it came on the TV, I'd say my missus Denise, I said, Denise, I'm going to be there someday. And she goes, you're good at talking the talk, big man. And I said, definitely. So this went on for years, I remember seeing the news, a news clip, that there was a wee kind of terrorist war going on, the Maoists and fighting the Nepalese army. And I says, right, 2 and 2, I'll put 2 and 2 together. Terrorism and tourism don't go. Because I was looking at this trip and it was like $4,000 and $5,000, and I went, I ain't got that sort of dough to go and do this. Base camp I was wanting to go and do, because for the other thing it's like £100,000 and stuff, and you need to be on the mountain for 3 months to acclimatise. So I looked on these Google things, the ... I call it, and I seen this came down for £4,000 to £1,600. So because of this wee terrorism thing, and I booked it up. I just went right in and booked it there, phoned them up, asked them were they genuine, because it was far too cheap, and they said, yeah, we're genuine, this and that, you can check us out. So phoned them up, booked myself up to go to Everest, told my pal that I was mentioning earlier on, James Call, JC, from Dublin, he's still living over there just now. And then Mark says, I'll go, and then Eddie O'Brien says, here we go, and then another 6 pals for the Gorbals. So 10 of us went to Mount Everest. And it was just, I just think it's a trip that will never be beaten. It was fantastic. But if you says to me just now, Paul, there's 10 grand, go back tomorrow, I'd tell you keep it, because it was tough, because of the lack of oxygen and stuff like that. And there's a few people that says, I climbed the base camp. Oh, did you only go to base camp?
Only?
Yeah, there's a few people say that.
Plus we took a bobbies with a ball.
With a ball, yeah.
Bought a ball.
Brian, you've made me think of something there. So 10 men conquered the base camp of Everest, and 10 men won the league. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that?
We had a ball up there as well. Because there was people looking at us as if, wait a minute, there's people dropping like flies round about, and all you hear, here, on my... hit the landing strip and that, carried with the ball. It wasn't a game, a full-scale game, because I mean, you'd have killed there. But we had the ball up there, I had the Jimmy Johnstone top on, and people were looking at us. Celtic scarves and all that sort of. We took it up because we're Celtic supporters, and this is the Celtic sort of thing, this show, isn't it? So we went up there, and people were looking as if we had 2 heats, because we kicked this ball about, and we've got photographs. Even the Sherpa guys, the guides and stuff like that, what's happening here? Somebody's pulled a ball out of a bag. And it was a size 5 ball. It was, but it was brilliant. And the good thing about it as well, 4 of us for the same street that grew up together. Obviously, Mark, my brother, Eddie O'Brien, George Gray, stayed at the Boatman Englefield Street. Now, Eddie's 62, George is 64, I think. And to think, when we were all kids, all playing football in the back, climbing dykes and that, we didn't think we'd be up at Everest playing heady football.
Brilliant.
And the good thing was as well, it was meeting people. I love meeting people and travelling and that, Paul. But, I don't look at it as an achievement. It was just, I love doing things. I've always been told with my man, my dad, don't sit about, get up off your backside and go and do things. So things like that have been achievable, and I've done quite a lot. And I don't tell a lot of people stuff like this as well, I've done a lot of travelling. I just do it off my own back. But people say, you're doing this for charity? Is charity paying for it for you? I don't. What I do is I book it myself out of my own pocket. Mark's the same. But then when we do get booked up, we'll go and ask a charity, can we raise money for you? So I've been doing it for the Prince and Princess of Wales Trust, who are out in Bellahouston Park. So, I mean, we don't just go and say, all right, we're going just for self-gain. We want to do it, but there's another side to it as well. If we can raise money
Brilliant.
for a cause, why not? But it was just an amazing experience. But see for kids in Glasgow or anywhere, everything's achievable. It's not about years ago when we were growing up in the 60s and that, you never got to Spain and that. Rossi and Saltcoats was the limit and stuff. But, we're getting kind of better jobs and better wages now. The plane fares and stuff have come down and stuff, the world shrank a bit. So everything's achievable. Don't sit on the couch and say, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that. You can do it. Because some of the places that I've been travelled to and Mark been, I never thought in a million years I'd have been there. But Everest was special. And it was good there was 10 Glaswegians. So, I mean, can you imagine these Nepalese guys trying to... And then you heard swearing echoing through these valleys and all that. A few choice words and that echoing all over the place. And then when the ball came out, that was a cherry in the cake.
That's brilliant.
At base camp, and photographs to prove it, because it was fantastic. So I mean, for these kids that want to come out and play football or be a good boxer, everything as well. There's loads of things run about it as well. Go and meet people.
Yeah.
You know, tell people about yourself and share your city or wherever you're from. You know, let them know about it. Spread the word about things and tell them about your football games and your boxing, your fights and stuff. But Everest was special, you know. It's going to take a lot to beat that.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. And what about a wee question on the snowy conditions in the place where you've visited? There's a lot of snow and a lot of ice.
Well, do you want to tell them about the Arctic Circle?
The Arctic Circle. There to see the Northern Lights, and we done it. Took for the Celtic Foundation as well. We took T-shirts over for them. But, the lights in the background were blue behind us, but we didn't care too much as long as we had the Celtic T-shirts. That was an experience and a half as well. Going on frozen lochs and things like that. And getting told used to beware of wolves and whatever else.
No black bears.
Beware of wolves.
No, for Wolverhampton. That was great as well, because that was 4 fellas. Obviously, me and Mark grew up in the same house. That was 2 of the other guys done Everest as well. That was 4 years off the same street again.
Brilliant.
Went to the Arctic Circle again. I was looking up. I says, I want to see the Northern Lights. Saying to the missus again, I'm going to go there. I'll see that. Yeah, I heard it big. And I just went bang, booked up. And actually, the guide was a guy that we grew up with, George Miller. Key George, I mentioned. George has got a Norwegian partner. So we went over there, and it was a guy who threw the back face. George wasn't a football player. He didn't play. He didn't one touch or anything, but took us out, and we had a fantastic time there. And really cold. You know, we're talking about 25 below. And I had my Jimmy Johnstone jacket on, my Jimmy Johnstone tracksuit and that, and they give you stuff. But another thing as well, that's achievable. You know, just there's a lot of places that I've been, and Mark's been as well, and you'll not hear us talking about it in the pubs. No, if somebody like yourself's questioning us, Paul, we'll tell you about it. But you know, otherwise I don't talk about it, because sometimes somebody will say, "Oh, I heard you were in such and such. I've known you all these years and you've never told me." But I don't, would it interest you? You know, and you're for Govanhill, you're for, you know what I mean, you grew up with me and we were at school together, we didn't have 2 bob, and now you're doing all this, but it's just, I want to go. My father was our father was in the Merchant Navy, so maybe we get the bug off Shug, Hugh Gillan, Shug, we get the bug off him. So we've done quite a bit of travelling, but we just kind of keep it to ourselves.
It's great because, like you say, a lot of people never leave their village, never leave their wee hub, you know, but it's great to go out there and experience these amazing things, the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. And the only thing left for Jim and I to say is thank you both very much for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind.
Fantastic. Thanks Paul
very
and Jim.
much, guys. Great to see you again.
Always been a Celtic State of Mind.